Good morning. How are you? Well, it's ice cold, and to avoid the wind, now I'm on a road that's pretty slippery. So we may memorialize my effort on this road by me upending. Yesterday I said that, those of you who could hear me through the wind, yesterday I said that the Congress was going to change hands, and the vote was supposed to be yesterday so that the Democrats would take control. But like all things congressional, that didn't happen, but it is happening right now, I believe. And as a result, like I said, the budget committees in the two houses will be dominated by Democrats, and they can begin the process of the stimulus bill, the 1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Now, the fly in the ointment is what Manchin of West Virginia will do. He's sort of staked out a place for himself as kind of a kingmaker, a person who can mess up anything that goes on because the vote is so close in the Senate. So we'll see how that works out. We would hope the caucus would stay together, and you would think West Virginia was one of those states that would be concerned and wish to have the stimulus go forward. Last night I had a chance to look at the papers filed in the impeachment action. The Democratic papers follow pretty much what you've seen, although the detail of the facts is very impressive. And to give you the short form version, it's is to say from the day of election forward and somewhat before that, through a whole variety of events, up to and including January 6th and after that, the president was engaged in a concerted effort to incite, to riot, and for insurrection. Now, the Republican, well, maybe I shouldn't say Republican, but the Trump answer, the Trump caucus, the rump caucus of the Congress, dominated by Trump aficionados, they have an interesting and frivolous defense. First of all, of course, is to say that you can't impeach a president who is no longer in office. Well, we have a specific case, of course, the Defense Secretary of Grant, who was impeached while he was in office and then quit and then was tried afterwards, and that was upheld. So there is precedent to do exactly what's going on here. So that's number one. The second one is an interesting one. It's called the Bill of Attainder. And basically that says if the Congress, pass a bill approved by the Senate, signed into law by the president for addressed to a specific person, then this is a violation of the notion of a bill of attainder, a specific punishment without due process. Okay, but what we're talking about is impeachment. It is not a bill of attainder. That is not a congressional bill. And it does involve notice and due process, and it is constitutional. That is to say, it's part of our Constitution, not a bill. So that's a frivolous issue. We can go into more detail about that when I write my law review on it. I don't intend to, by the way. There are other things I have written about. That one doesn't excite me enough, since it's so frivolous to begin with. The third part is the one that's going to draw a lot of fight, I think, and it's the obvious one. They sort of in a backwards way say, how can you say that when Trump said he won the election, that isn't true? Now, there are a couple of steps here. They say it's just free speech. Now, there are a couple of steps here. One is this notion that the Republicans have had for some time, whenever president does something, or when the former president, he who we would be well rid of, does something, that he believed it was true. And forgive me if I've said this before, because I believe I have, but belief is not a defense. And I've told the joke in which as a kid, when my daughter was a kid, I would sing to her, I Believe I Can Fly. That was a slip, by the way, a great song. And I believe I can fly all the way up to the sky and everything. Well, that's all fine, but it's not true. It's a belief. It's a metaphorical exaltation, if you will, and it has no grounding in law or fact. So belief is not the test. An objective assessment of intent is the test. Okay, so what is the objective intent here? The objective intent is to incite. Now, they say it's free speech. Well, let's analyze what free speech is. If I say to you, I'm going to knock you on your ass, excuse me, for the more delicate among my audience, but it's on my mind on this road. And I don't do it, but I say it. That's assault. And that's not protected. It's not free speech. I can't say that. You know, the largest example people give is to say you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. Well, that's fine, but why have an analogy? You can't get up on a soapbox and say, tear down the government. You know, go up there and fight. You can't do this for weeks and weeks. 77 days, I think, was the outline, and say that that's free speech. It's not free speech. If I'm in a conspiracy and I say to somebody else, we're going to blow up a building, that's not free speech. Particularly if I take any act, overt act, however innocent, to advance that unlawful conspiracy. So, what do we have here? We have lawyers who know better, suggesting arguments for what they hope is the QAnon crazy wacko ditto heads who follow Trump and this far-right autocratic conspiracy to be satisfied with that. But that just can't stand. We have to resist that. And I expect that we will, but I don't know how the votes will go. But it is a shame and a disgrace for Congress not to rebel, pardon the expression, against this crazed effort to bring down our government, basically. So, get out, enjoy the weather. It's beautiful today. Talk to you tomorrow.